Hey, I'm Jason Hulls.
And I'm Chad Burns.
And welcome to another episode of The Con Men. This time we went to Capricon 35, and we wanted to do something a little bit different with this episode.
Capricon's always one of our favorite cons because it's a pretty low-key con.
What we were able to do this time was corner 3 authors and game designers with decades of experience each.
All of them had a great influence on us as people.
Absolutely. So we thought it would be interesting this time to go a little bit more in-depth with each one of them. So I think it's time to fade up the music and get to it, right? Roll the clip. I am in the Capricon game room with gaming, I think it's fair to say, legend, Lester Smith. Now, full disclosure here, I actually know Lester from when I was probably, what, like 8 or so?
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah. You actually took me to my first con. I don't know if you remember that or not. It was Egypt Con in Carbondale.
I took you to Carbondale. Wow.
Yeah.
I'd completely forgotten. So many years have passed.
You've got a new project going on right now. Very successful crowdfunding situation. D6 times D6.
Yep.
Why don't you tell our people out in YouTube land all about that?
I've been toying with the idea of trying to resurrect an old game called Zero, which first used this D6 times D6 mechanic.
Sure.
And several people over the years had suggested that I try republishing that, but it's actually the copyright's owned by Steve Stone, the artist. And so I decided, I was looking at it and thought this will work for really any genre. It doesn't have to just be this weird science fiction. It takes about 5 minutes to generate a character. It can be a character from any setting.
You can play anything you want and you can set it up quick. It's kind of the philosophy behind the mechanics.
Literally, every time I show up at a convention for an event, I do not have pre-generated characters. I hand people, there's a D6 times D6 character sheet. It takes about 5 minutes. At a convention, maybe 10. I've had people play everything from lifeguards to, there was one guy played a female children's television host. You know,
Nice.
I mean,
anything.
Weird, yeah.
Very cool. Talk a little bit about the choice to bring in outside authors to write some of the settings.
My buddy Doug Niles asked me if I'd be interested in electronically publishing his old Watershed trilogy, right? I said, well, yeah, of course. And I started reading through the book to lay it out, and suddenly it clicked. Why would I invent a magic setting, a fantasy setting, when there's this just utterly awesome, unique setting that he's done? So I said, Doug, hey, can we do like just a chapter for this game that'd be based on that? And then people who want more background can go to your novels. He said yes, and that suddenly I looked at everything. Well, why would I write any of these why would I invent worlds from the ground up when there are these authors that I really admire? So, you know, I hang out with a bunch of ex-TSR authors on a monthly basis. I ask them if they had anything that they'd be interested in putting in here. And I wanted to mention, I'm looking forward to seeing Citizen in the Temple tonight.
Ah, yes.
And so for people
That's
who
mine.
don't know, the world of Aeolon is one of the settings for D6 times D6.
I mean, I didn't want to bring it up. I mean, yes, that's the setting that we designed for our film. So yeah, if you can make it tonight, that would be amazing. There's a lot on the website, so definitely check it out. There are a ton of different settings that you can use this mechanic for.
Yep, D6 times D6.com. It has a draft of all of the core rules and 4 sample settings there right now.
Check it out. Okay, so I had a great time talking with Lester. You know, like I said in the interview, I mean, I've known him for a long time. It had been
And he's been designing games almost as long as you've been alive.
He probably would not want us to say that, but
My thing is like, okay, one of the things I love about gaming guys is I don't know Lester personally, and I'm not really deeply seeped in his games, but within seconds of talking to Lester, game nerd. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Dark Conspiracy came out from GDW, he like literally gave me one out of his trunk. What do we have next?
Next, we get to talk to somebody who had a big impact on me.
Oh yeah.
And on you.
Definitely.
And that would be Miss Weis.
Oh yeah.
Margaret Weis, of Dragonlance fame, TSR, big shot, who went on and made big things and is still making big things.
I mean, I read tons of the books. I actually ran a Dragonlance campaign consistently for 5 years. That was
I still have all my books. In fact,
oh yeah.
The day after we got back from the con, I started rereading the first 3 books in the Dragonlance.
Nice. And Margaret, next time we see it, probably gonna have a big stack of stuff.
Great conversation with her. It was awesome.
In fact, we should check it out. I am here at Capricon, and I got to admit, I'm geeking out a little bit. Next to me is New York Times best-selling author, gaming industry legend, Margaret Weis. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for asking me.
Absolutely. So I got a couple questions I want to pick your brain about a little bit.
Okay.
You're currently working on the Dragon Brigade series and the Dragon Ships of Vindris series. How many projects do you typically have going on at one time?
Well, I only work on one at a time. So Tracy and I just finished the Doom of the Dragon, which is the 4th in the Dragon Ship series, and that's with my editor. So now I'm going back and starting Dragon Corsairs, the first volume called Spy Master, which is the first in the Dragon Brigade series. That way I don't mix worlds up, think I'm someplace else.
You could get lost.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the most challenging part of writing for you, and how do you get around it?
Well, I think probably, and I've been doing this, for over 30 years, but the most challenging part is always sitting down and starting to write every morning, which is one reason that I have a set schedule that I always do it. I work from about 7:30 every day to about 11. And the dogs know my schedule now. They sleep all morning. 11 o'clock, they start getting up, they start walking around.
I got a question about the dogs coming.
Okay, because they know it's time. And then afternoons, I spend going over in my head, walking the dogs, running errands, but I'm going over in my head what I've written that morning. And then hopefully, and then kind of thinking about what I'm going to write the next day. So hopefully the next day, I'll be there and I won't sit there looking at the blank computer screen. What you need to do is just sit down and start writing, even if you know that maybe you're not going to use it, at least you're writing.
So there's something to be said for the act of creating the routine.
Yes, I think the routine is very, very important.
That's part of the value of, say, a program like the Nano, because to me it's almost about trying to create that momentum in writers more than necessarily what you're getting at the end of it. You and your daughter have written 2 paranormal romance novels together. So what was it like to work on a book with your daughter?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a really good time.
Was that like something she came to you with and was like, "Mom, I got an idea," or how did that come about?
No, I think we were just, I can't remember whether, it may have been my agent who asked us if we'd be interested in doing it. And we said, yeah, I think maybe that was it. But we had a lot of fun. We'd go, because I always write a complete synopsis before I start a book, so we needed to come up with the plot. And so we'd go to this Japanese restaurant and get a bottle of sake, and we write notes on like the napkins, and everything. So that's how we came up with the plot. And she wrote all the sex scenes. Okay. So I wrote the book, and then I'd send it to her, and she'd write stuff. And she said that was really the hardest part for her because she knew I was going to read it.
It's understandable.
We had a lot of fun, but probably never do another. There were our the editor for romance novels would tell us, we had to change stuff, that our hero didn't look right, and he didn't do this, and she didn't do that. And you never would get that in a fantasy fantasy novel.
What motivated you to start up a publishing company?
Actually, my ex-husband and I started it way back in the day. When we got divorced, I inherited the game company.
Okay.
And it was either, fold it or keep on with it. So, and I've really enjoyed it. And, we've had some amazing properties like Serenity and Firefly that have just been an absolute joy to work on. And it's been a lot of fun, really has.
How many employees do you have at that company?
I freelance.
It's just freelance.
Yeah. So much easier that way. We don't all have to be in one location. And honestly, there's so much talent out there. And unlike, the day when we all lived in Lake Geneva, everybody is all over the place now. And so, the head of my company, the production manager, Monica Valentinelli, she lives in Madison. One of our developers is in England. I mean, it's just so cool.
That's great. It's kind of a cloud-based system. So you have 4 dogs. Are there any rescues in there, or there are rescues? I have 2 myself. So does it disrupt your work at all when they come up to you and sit and stare at you?
Yes, I have a border collie who does that. My border collie, Dixie. She will come up when she thinks it's time for her to go outside, she'll come up and stare at me, and it really does bother me. It really does while I'm writing. And so I'll say, Dixie, go lie down. And she'll look at me and she'll kind of slink away, and then she'll look back to see if I mean it. And I'm like, Dixie, go lie down. And then she'll go back in her chair and lie down until it's time, when I get ready to take a break, and I get up and we let everybody out, and then she's like, out like a shot. But she does.
I have my dogs will burrow under my hand as I'm typing on the laptop, so we, sometimes we're their personal assistants. So what's it like to think like a Kender?
It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed writing Tasselhoff. He was absolutely great. To me, Tasselhoff is the wisest person in Dragonlance, in the Dragonlance saga. And I tell that to people and they absolutely freak out. But Tasselhoff has no preconceptions. He sees right through everything, facades, everything else. And he was a joy.
Well, Margaret, thank you so much for talking to us. I really appreciate you sitting down and sharing your experience with us. Our next interview is with a game designer, author, eternal freelancer, Matt Forbeck.
And the guy's all over the place. I mean, he touches everything you could ever want. He's got a new book dropping this month, actually, in the Halo universe, which my wife is super stoked about.
One of the coolest moments at this convention, at Capricon, for me, or honestly any convention, was Friday night when we were up at the parties, which are always great, let's face it. But it was me, Matt, and then 2 other of the guests of honor. One was a podcaster, one was
the guys from Functional Nerd.
Yeah, the artist.
On a panel with them.
Yeah, the artist guest of honor also. There were just the 4 of us sitting around chatting about just the process of making things, of making art, content creating.
And that's always an added value you can't overlook when you go to cons, is not only you're dealing with other fans, what you're dealing with, it's a way to access your content creators and the people who make the things you want.
Yeah, and it was just excellent to be able to chat with them about the different challenges, similarities, differences. Had a great time. So check out his interview and hope you enjoy.
All right, so here we are still at Capricon. We've been having a really good day. We've been really lucky this con. We've cornered a lot of gold badgers. And right now we've got Matt Forbeck with us. He's the Arthur GOH, right? Full disclosure, like we had to do with Lester earlier, Matt and I have actually worked on something in the past. I wouldn't say it was, well, it was a video game called Conduit 2, and
we're on the same project together.
Right. Yes. We didn't intersect very much, but we saw each other near the coffee machine.
Yep, exactly.
That was the thing. Do you normally do the con kind of circuit, or is this your first Capricon?
This is not my first Capricon. I came here a couple years ago back when Cory Doctorow and Javier Grillo Marquez were the guests.
You do more than just books. You also do a lot of RPG games.
Yeah.
You've written a lot of stuff like that. So there is a lot of cross-pollination in those industries, especially in our genres, yeah?
Oh, definitely. I started out in tabletop role-playing games for like 20, 25 years now, and I ran a company called Pinnacle Entertainment Group with my buddy Shane Hensley, who was one of the co-founders with me. And I left that to go back to freelancing about 16 years ago when we started having kids in my family. And we want to get back to Wisconsin, where we have free babysitting from people we trust. You can't really beat that.
What's the #1 marketing tip you throw down at a new guy?
Honestly, I think the best way to market yourself or your project or everything else is to do it gently, right? You don't want to be shoving things at people. You want to be the friendliest guy, the guy they all want to know, the guy they want to be happy with. You want to show as much interest in what they're doing as you want them to show interest in what you're doing, right? You don't want to be just saying, okay, you need to look at this, you need to look at this, you need to look at this. When you're talking long-term networking, when you're trying to be involved in an industry for a long time, it's not all about you. You're part of the community, and you want to support that, and then they will support you back in return.
But you basically have two different theories. One is I'm going to sell you my thing,
right,
and two is I'm going to sell you me.
Right, yeah, and I think selling a person yourself is a much better long-term way to go, right? Because you may go through dozens of projects over your career, and one project may only last for 5 months, might be over in a year, whatever, might be over in a week. But if somebody says, I remember you, you did that awesome thing that I really enjoyed, they'll follow you to the next thing.
What are you working on right now?
I have a Halo novel coming out. That's an ebook that follows the adventures of the guys from Halo 3 ODST. So Buck and all the rest of his crew. I had the Marvel Encyclopedia come out last year, and it was a bestseller on the New York Times bestseller list for 2 months. I have the Shotguns and Sorcery role-playing game. It's going to be out later in the year, which is based upon a series of novels I did were Hard Times in Dragon City, Bad Times in Dragon City, and End Times in Dragon City.
And how's that coming out? What system is it going to be on?
That's going to be using the Cypher system from Monty Cook Games.
Okay.
So Monty's a good buddy of mine. He did a game called Numenera, and then he did another game called The Strange with Bruce Cordell, who's another friend of mine. And as I was looking around for a system that we might want to use for this, Monty saw me on Twitter and said, "Oh, Matt, you really got to talk to Charles Ryan, who's another friend of mine. Used to be one of my employees at Pinnacle back in the day." And Charles said, "Hey, we're actually going to be doing a standalone Cypher system rule book coming out in August, and we would love for you to be one of our first licensees." I said, "That sounds fantastic." The guys at Outland really were enthused about it too, so that's what we're going to have.
And again, it's a small circle, man. We're all connected. You know, authors make video games. Video game guys make RPGs. They make films. Whatever, you know, it's all.
We're not all just creators too. We're all fans at the same time, right?
We're consumers too. I mean,
exactly.
That's one of the great things about conventions is we all get to be nerds together and roll around in it.
Exactly, it's a lot of fun.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Always
I had a great
good to see
time.
you.
As always, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. If you like what we're doing, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, share it around. We don't ask anything else other than you love. We've got some con-men stuff cooking that's going to take us to some kind of off the beaten path cons.
Yeah, some places we haven't gone before. Also, we have a film coming out, and it's actually the way Chad and I met, which, you know, meeting on that project gave rise to this show. The film is called Citizen in the Temple, and it's a sort of steampunk,
biopunk, dystopian future.
It's in there. We're going to put a link down below.
In the doobly-doo.
If you would, check it out, let us know what you think, and be on the lookout for it. And I think it's time for us to get out of here, so I'm Jason Hulls.
I'm Chad Byrne.
We'll see you next time on The Con Men.